Hey everyone, I'm Marina from Pineapple Yarn, and I'm here to share with you what I have been working on this week. So, as you might anticipate, I finished this adorable sweater this week, and I am so excited about it. This is a sweater, a handspun sweater that my 9-year-old daughter and I dyed and spun together. I did the spinning, I'll be honest. I did all the spinning, but she helped me dye the yarn, and then I knit it, and it's just the coziest sweater. I love how it is stripy, and it's all self-striping. It turned out so cute. So for those of you who might be new or might miss some of the details from the past few episodes, I will give a few details. This is a hand-spun Rambouillet sweater, and my daughter and I took about 400 grams of Rambouillet wool and dyed half a bright mint color, a mint green color, and then we dyed the other half. She actually did all the dyeing with dyes that I had left over from various other projects, and dyed that. And then what I did is I spun it into singles. So I had 2 bobbins of the colored singles, and then I had 2 bobbins of the bright mint singles, and I applied them together. So I ended up having this just beautiful barber pulled yarn, which I have, I'm not sure, I do have some left skeined up right here. So I do have this little skein left. Hopefully that will show up and not be too blown out. It's a really minty color overall with just the pops of color. But so I applied it together, and it ended up just being this beautiful barber pulled effect, and then knit it into a sweater. I initially was going to use another pattern, but ended up not, because my gauge, this ended up being more of a worsted weight yarn. And I found with a lot of my handspun is that even if it looks like a DK, or even like wraps per inch measure out to be more of a DK weight, it actually knits better if I go up a needle size, if like a worsted weight commercial yarn. And so that's what I did, and I ended up using the Flax pattern from Tin Can Knits, which is such a fun pattern. And it I think I started off with the 6 to 8 ear size with the neckline, and then I did the increases along the yoke, or it's a raglan style, so the increases on either side of the arms. I did all the increases for an 8 to 10 year size. So it's just a really simple pattern. I didn't do the garter stitch along the sleeves. It's just really simple stockinette. And it has a 2x2 rib on the bottom, as well as the sleeves, the cuffs, and yeah, what I did as far as color management, one thing that really helped is I was able to use one skein for the body, and then even though I still had some left, I switched to a second skein for both arms, and that really helped just blend the 2 skeins, because the one was a little more minty green than the other. And so I think it turned out really well. When she wears it, I don't see any difference with these 2, except, as you can see, the stripes came out differently on the sleeves than they did the body, and that's just because of the circumference at which you are knitting. And so when you're, obviously if you're knitting at a smaller, in the round with fewer stitches, the stripes are going to be more spread out than on a large circumference like the body. So that's what I did as far as that. I also just knit straight, so the sleeves are just straight down, and I did a series of very quick increases right before I started doing the 2x2 rib on the cuff, and it looks really cute on. It's not too blousy or big. Overall, I thought that this turned out really, really cute. Oh, and I also did a few short knit rows on the back to lift up the back, and it looks really good. So I think I covered all the details on this, and I know I've talked about it more in past episodes, But honestly, you know, it's been 90 degrees here and she wears it every day, which is just ridiculous. She does take it off if she goes outside, but yeah, she really loves it. And yeah, it was fun because she had a hand in dyeing the yarn or dyeing the wool and saw the whole process, and so she's really proud of it. And so yeah, I'm really happy to have made this for her. And I should say before I go any further, a lot of times I forget what I'm wearing, but this is the Sunshine Coast sweater by Heidi Kirrmaier. Highly recommend it. I made this pattern a few years ago and I wear the sweater all the time. It's fabulous. And I knit it using Bamboo Pop from Universal Yarns, another yarn I absolutely love for maybe transitional or summertime yarns. It is made from cotton and bamboo, and so it's not as, some cotton yarns just don't have a lot of stretch, and this doesn't have a lot of stretch except that it does have the bamboo in it, which makes it just a little more, I don't want to say pliable, but it has a little more give, and so it's not as hard on your hands when you knit with it. But I just love this sweater, really and truly. I love it. I've made other projects with Bamboo Pop. It's a great yarn. So that is this sweater. I still want to knit another one. I say this all the time. I will knit another sweater eventually with this yarn because I do really love it. Actually, if they had more colors, I probably would have already done it already. So the next thing I want to share with you, let's see. This is a project I started, and I had actually talked about this a little bit last week. One of my other daughters has requested a poncho, that I knit her a poncho. And so initially I was going to use a pattern, it's a textured poncho pattern that I had talked about last week. And I started knitting this pattern, and it was a slog, I'll be honest. It was just a slog. It's I'm trying to think what it was called. It was a double seed stitch, I think is what they called it. And it was just a lot of work. I was not enjoying it. And it was knit from the bottom up, which concerned me. And I don't know why I didn't notice this when I bought it. Maybe they didn't say how it was constructed. But it started worrying me because this was a ladies size pattern, and I think the size was just like a small medium that I was knitting. But my daughter is 11, and so she's in adult sizes, but very small adult sizes. I was afraid, and she's not real tall. I was afraid that it was just going to be way too big on her, and it would be hard to rip back. So I looked for a new pattern, and I found one. I'll throw it on the screen here, and it is a top-down, very, very simple poncho pattern. I was incredibly excited to find it because this neck, I'll show you, I'm on my second skein of yarn, but this is the neck, and it is so squishy, and it is going to be awesome. I hope she likes it because she had requested, she wanted a cowl neck on a poncho. I don't know where she got that idea or anything, but that's what she wanted. So this is the neck on this, and I just think it is so cute with this rib, and then it folds down like this. So I'm assuming, on me, this would be kind of a cowl neck. I mean, it'd be a wide turtleneck, not quite a turtleneck. So I think this is gonna look really cute on her. And then what you do is you switch to a smaller needle size, and it's just stockinette from here on out, basically. And it has raglan increases, top down. So I just think it's, I just think it's going to be really, really simple. I don't even know if you can see that. It's just a very simple raglan increase. So, from here on out, it's just very, very simple. The neck took me forever. It took me like 3 nights of knitting to get through the neck. But now what I'm doing is I will just pick this up. I can tell if I've done the increases or not, and I just pick it up and knit stockinette for a while, add some increases if necessary, and yeah, so that is my knitting for now. I did want to talk to you about the yarn This is an undyed wool yarn that I can purchase from my mill, and it is an organic, non-superwash, Aran weight merino wool, and it's beautiful. I love it. I have really, I think it really started when I started spinning yarn. I realized how much more enjoyable, I do want to say more enjoyable. If you're knitting a squishy, you want a squishy sweater or squishy project, non-superwash yarn is just, it's just beautiful. It's really, really beautiful. And with my children, I rarely knit them non-superwash just because I want it to be easy to care for. But as my children get older, I think it's going to be less of a problem. This isn't going to be a problem for my 11-year-old. And then my my Handspun sweater, this one that I just finished, is non-superwash, but we have definitely talked about keeping this nice. So I think she will be mindful about not throwing it in her hamper and watching out for it, because she knows that it will shrink if it gets put into the wash and dryer. But this is all I have so far. I have, it's probably to here right now. I haven't had her try it on just because I think she might get a little picky about it, and the whole thing almost needs to be nearly finished before I even have her try it on or anything. But yeah, so if you're looking for just a really simple ladies sized raglan pattern, I will link it below in case you're interested. So and it's the other thing too that my daughter didn't want is she didn't want the bottom ending in a point, and this one doesn't. So I figured as long as I can get the body about right, the ending portion, the hem, it's really not going to matter at all. I can get that to look however she wants. So yeah, so far so good. This has just been, I've been very, very busy with family life and other things, and this has just been so nice to have, because I don't have to think about it, and it's still knitting and it's great. But anyway, so this is the poncho. That is, I feel like that's going to be going for a while, just because it is an undyed wool and it's stockinette. So it's great that it's easy, but it's also not the most compelling of knits, if you know what I mean. The finished object will be great, but it'll be fine. It'll be good, and I will. I think I will appreciate when I move on to the next project, whether that be socks or another sweater, because guaranteed it's going to be full of color, so I can handle it. I can handle the white poncho for now. But I did want to share with you one skein of yarn that I spun up during Tour de Fleece that I didn't show you because it was my current club in the shop. So I do offer a fiber club in my shop, and it's a monthly one-time or subscription where I send you either a superwash nylon fiber or a non-superwash mystery fiber every month. And I love doing the non-superwash mystery fibers because it allows me to almost do a breed study where you receive a different breed of wool every month and just try out some different breeds that maybe you haven't tried or maybe you've even heard of, because that's how it is for me. So if you haven't spun up June or July's, or you haven't seen July, definitely skip this portion because I don't want to spoil the surprise. But this was the fiber, the non-superwash fiber for July was Kent Romney. And this is what mine turned out to be like, and I love this color. I love it so much. So as you can see, I did a lot of blues. I did turquoise and like this bold deep blue, and added some green in there, and added kind of, I would say kind of an gold, not a gold, but like an off-white, yellowy green And I just think that that came out so perfectly. It was a wonderful spin. It was so enjoyable. I think it turned out so even. I'm very, very happy with this spin. And so let's see, what did I do? I even wrote a tag. This was from Tour de Fleece. This is my third skein. And I split it in half lengthwise, and then I did about 4 to 6 lengthwise strips. And a lot of times when I break a piece of fiber into 2, it's really just for the length of it, because it's cumbersome. When you have a long piece of wool top, it can just get cumbersome. So sometimes I do it for color management, sometimes I do it just for ease of spinning. And so this one I just stripped it 4 to 6 times down the length of the top, and I ended up getting 134 yards in 112 grams. And I just spun this how I it's kind of my default, which is a continuous backward draft. So think an inchworm. You know, a lot of times people talk about an inchworm when they're spinning, and so I'm holding the fiber and I just draft backward a couple of times before I let it back on. So I am drafting back, drafting back, drafting back, drafting back, and then let the entire strand on. As opposed to a backward draft, you might just draft and then just let it on, and then draft another bit and then let it on. So it's actually very, I feel like it's a great balance of control as well as speed. So I love spinning that way. I feel like maybe because I have done it a lot and it's my default method, I feel like I always get a really good result that way, or I normally get a fair result that way. So this is really pretty. I love the way it came out. One of my favorite weights of yarn for handspun is like a worsted to bulky. And when I say bulky, I mean, you know, I guess on the more Aran side of bulky, but I just love that like DK worsted Aran weight. This is just so pretty because you can really see all the colors in it. You can really see the barber pulling, and you know, as I was spinning, as I got better at spinning, I was spinning thinner and thinner, and then really made a conscious effort to get back to like a DK worsted. So I love that weight of yarn, and I feel like it just reveals the beauty of the dyed fiber even more. So I definitely can see this as a winter accessory. I cannot wait. I think this would be beautiful. And I also think, like, in my handspun stash, I have other skeins that are the same weight, and I thought it would just be really interesting. I don't have anything off the top of my head, but in my stash, I just think it would be amazing to take some of these skeins that are the same weight but maybe different wools, different fibers, and put them together in a project. I think it would be really awesome. Of course, there's, you know, the night shift shawl, like the whole shifty line from Andrea Mowry, but even just a striped sweater or something I think would be really pretty. So I may keep that in mind in the future, just keep amassing these skeins of worsted weight yarn, and maybe do one big project. Even if it's not just all of my fiber club, it might just be from different dyers. I think it'd be really fun. So that is the skein I've been waiting to share with you. And if you're a hand spinner, or you are interested in purchasing some fiber for maybe some felting, not all of my fibers will felt, but it's mostly geared towards hand spinners. But if you are interested, I do have August's, I guess, yes, August's. No, we are in August, so it's September's clubs are in the shop. Every time I do that, it's just mind-blowing that I have something, like, we're already going into September with clubs. Like, that's just crazy. So September's clubs are in the shop right now. But yeah, other than that, that's all I've been working on. I haven't been doing any weaving. I did finally wind my warp, so it is almost, I'm looking at out of the corner of my eye, it's almost ready to weave, and it is so beautiful. I can't wait to weave on it. But the only thing that I'm going to need to decide is what color I'm going to use for the weft. I was going to use a like a medium shade of gray. It's really beautiful, but I'm not sure now. The warp ended up being thinner, like more narrow than I thought it would be, and so for any project I'm probably going to have to seam it together, and which is fine. It'll end up working out great. But anyway, it's really, really beautiful, and I'm just waiting for things to slow down a little bit more so I can start weaving on it. It will be such a joy to weave. But yeah, things are really busy now, so I really just need easy, stockinette, portable projects. And yeah, so that's really it. That's all that's going on with me this week. Thank you so much for joining me. And if you like this episode, I'd love if you give it a thumbs up. I hope all of you are enjoying all of your crafting. And yeah, I'll see you next week with another episode. Until then, I hope you have an awesome day. Bye.